Today we're at my church, Central, in Niagara on the Lake, Ontario, Canada, with Pastor Justin, one of my very best friends in the world, because we do something a little unusual at our church, video announcements, which, are not so unusual on their own, except ours are not pre-recorded. They're live from our lobby with a pair of hosts, just like this. And there are three things that we want to discuss and share with you. Number one, the cart itself and how Justin built this thing from a box of scraps.
Wow.
Instead of buying the cart that he originally had his eye on, which was like $5,000. Then we'll talk about the philosophy for these live church announcements, why we do them this way in our church. And finally, we'll take you to the production booth where the Sunday morning magic happens to show you all the presets and the cues that we've created so that even a volunteer can run this all during a weekend service.
Absolutely.
And if that's not enough, we've got a shopping list linked below so that you can assemble this cart and make your own at church if you wanted. All the gear we mentioned and show you will be in the shopping list linked below.
Let's go. Okay, so this is the camera we have. We're using the Blackmagic Ursa 4.6K, one of our first sort of Blackmagic cameras that we've had. And we're using it in this host setting. So the way it's kind of set up is we're using a Rokinon lens. Again, a very affordable lens, I think sub $500.
Yeah, it's a prime 35 mil T1.5.
Exactly.
We use these at our company too.
They're great.
Yeah, great glass and really affordable.
I love them for the cost and what you get out of them. They're all declicked, which is great. But we run at 2.8. Part of the reason for that is just it creates a little bit of depth of field. And what I really like about this camera specifically is if it's really bright, like a summer bright day, I can crank down with an ND built-in ND filter, couple stops, and then it just gives us a little bit more control for keeping that depth of field at 2.8.
Yeah, because one of the questions that I wanted to ask was about, we're in this really beautiful, bright, spacious lobby, which is great. We have two services, 9 and 11.
11, yep.
I know in my own office, the light changes and it's a problem. So there are no giant blinds here. What do you do?
Correct. Yeah, so what's great about this setup is we're running an output to our ATEM switcher in the back. So we have an 8K Constellation, but we're also running an input. So what that does is it gives us control. So for each service, we're gaining, which is essentially we're taking the exposure up and down through production ISO, so that's called gain. So we're putting the gain up and down based on the light. And that's
From the booth.
From the booth.
So the booth that we're going to go to
right.
later, you can control the exposure via the ISO. Because this is aperture that you cannot control
that's correct.
remotely.
Yeah, so that's the trade-off with this is a non-controllable lens, but it's cheap. So the way we get around that is we're just gaining up and down to compensate for the light.
Can you control the ND remotely?
No. So we have somebody running this booth here or this hosting cart. They run this during the experience when the hosts are here. So they're able to kind of, adjust some of that for me via comms.
And the great thing about Blackmagic Design as a camera manufacturer is they make really great production quality cameras at about as an affordable rate you can get.
Yeah. Well, and what's great about even the Ursa 4.6K is it's not a new camera anymore. It's been around for a bunch of years.
Great point.
So you can pick up these guys for you, like as a used deal, and it goes a long way for your budget. So that's kind of this setup. We're running a LUT on here, so we color graded our own LUT that we kind of use. So that's what kind of gives it its overall feel in the auditorium and out here. And so that's kind of the camera.
So how do we get the video and the audio from here to the screens?
Yeah, so real simple, we're running an SDI out that is going to a wall panel. So we have a wall panel over sort of here on either corner of our lobby that we've built in when we built the space. And in that wall panel, we have we have 4 XLRs, I believe, built in. We have 2 XLRs that are inverted for comms, so we can run comm channels, which is right here on our booth. And then we have also network if we need it as well. So that just lets us, all of that feeds back into our backstage. Some of it goes to the audio rack for the soundboard, and some of it goes to our video hubs, which then go into our video switcher.
Okay, so let's say you wanted to do something similar to this look, and you're like, no, we did not just construct a church with all the perfect wiring. How could a church do a version of this?
So if it was me and I was in a brand new context, we had none of these things, I would probably just run 1 SDI line. If I could 2, it would be ideal. And you could go XLRs right into this camera, and you could actually feed audio over those SDI lines right into your switcher, and you're good to go.
And
So-
and for the audio, we have these two mics.
Yes.
These are just XLR. Are they into the camera?
So those are actually into the wall panel, which goes straight to the soundboard. So it's separated
The
from...
audio is separate from the video.
That's correct.
And that's not a problem.
It's not a problem because we combine all of that in our own system backstage for everything from Sunday morning worship to just everything we are. We have a really good sound mixer, and he's great at, sort of considering all of that. So
But the nice thing is,
don't
this
have
camera
to.
has XLR in, so
That's right.
you could do it that way if you were doing the
Yep.
other version.
it's the way I would do it because I'm not an audio guy. If it was just me and I was on my own, that's how I would do it.
There are little bits of tape
Yes.
for each of our feet.
Yep.
Okay, is that your foot or is this?
Yeah, this is me right here.
Okay. Oh, so you get to have like wide stance and I'm like narrow stance.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're standing here. We've got these mics.
Yep.
Where'd you get these little logo?
We got these. These are called flags, I believe. We got them online a number of years ago.
Mic flags are pretty
Mic
easy
flags, yep.
to get. We've had them before for our
Exactly.
podcast. And then we're talking into this teleprompter. Now, I recognize this teleprompter, and
You
the
have
viewers
this
might as
teleprompter,
well. Yeah, I have the same teleprompter in my home office. Coincidentally, this is the Elgato prompter.
Yes.
What software are you using on
Yeah.
the prompter?
So we're using an app called Teleprompter Pro. And what's great about it is on the MacBook, I have a hard line connection. So we shifted to this because we had an iPad, it was wireless, and sometimes mid-hosting it would disconnect or we'd have an error and our host would be kind of like caught deer in the headlights. So we wanted a wired connection. Elgato was real affordable, but we found a better app.
Okay, so I'm a host. It's Sunday morning.
Yes.
I'm looking at the notes here, and they're not word for word. You've got bullet points.
Yeah, so we just, again, part of the reason for that is we just wanted our host to feel kind of like live in real time, not too exactly scripted word for word. So we do script it word for word in Planning Center, but then we do a bulleted version so that they're just able to kind of like, it's just triggering what they need to remember. So it feels conversational.
Who writes those scripts?
So we have a communication kind of lead person who is scripting those each week, deciding what's our key announcements. And then she also populates this, it's in an Apple Note. And then our person who runs the trolley here or the host cart, she just dumps them into the app and they're good to go.
Okay, so I'm a host on a Sunday morning. When do I get this script?
So you would get it typically on Tuesday of the week before, Tuesday to Wednesday. But a lot of our hosts, if we're honest, don't probably look at it until Sunday.
Okay, cool. And would it be the expectation that I have it like close to memorized, or is
Yes.
it more there just to read and be like, okay, ideally I would say this?
Just in terms of feel, kind of key language, and you're hitting the major points.
So there's two hosts.
Yes.
What is the expectation or the ideal for like banter and like buddy cop?
Yep. It's kind of an interesting tension because we want it to feel conversational, but if you're bantering for too long, it can feel like, what are you guys talking about? So we've kind of put it into the script to find some sort of connection point right off the top. So this last week, it was Olympics and how our Canadians were doing. So we were talking about that for a moment, who we were cheering for. One guy's Kenyan. I'm there as well. I'm cheering for basketball. And so we're excited about that. But we're also excited that you're here. So now we're bringing you into the conversation.
He's the pro right there.
So it's kind of just a quick grab your attention, something that everyone's connecting on, weather, season, school, summer, blah, blah, blah. And then we're kind of into it. So we don't camp out too long because it does start to disconnect after a while. It feels like, what are you guys talking? It can feel goofy. So we wanted it to feel like professional, but still casual.
And there's an iPad right here
Yes.
with, right now it just says the time on it.
Yep.
What does that look like when we're doing live announcements?
Yeah. So when hosting starts, that immediately starts a kind of 7-minute countdown. We will not go over that, or we try very hard not to. But that starts on the hour. And so as soon as the hosting begins, that countdown starts counting, just so the host kind of keep in mind, okay, and it doesn't overrun, like you're taking too long, you got to wrap it up.
Got it. You got a couple drink holders there?
Yep.
Just for in between.
That's right.
Stay
You gotta
hydrated.
Stay hydrated, exactly.
Apple boxes, I presume this is for when
Yeah.
those, the height discrepancy
Yes.
between the two hosts
Yeah.
is a little too great.
It's like you.
Yeah, okay, well, no, but, okay, and then there is a tiny little aperture light,
Yes.
little something C, I can't remember the name, it's
Yeah.
mounted up there.
It's a little $100 battery-powered light that just kind of fills in a little bit.
Does
To
it?
be fair, it's not really doing a lot.
Okay.
So we're probably going to shift away
So
from
if
that.
church was watching this, they don't
get that.
they don't need that light.
They don't need that.
Because we have them at our office too,
Yeah.
frankly.
It doesn't
We
really.
don't really ever use them either.
It really does nothing.
So I think that's about it for us. We're the two hosts.
Yep.
But there's a third person here and they are behind the laptop at the cart. So what does it look like on a Sunday for them, and what are their responsibilities?
Yeah, so on a Sunday, we have one person on the trolley here. Sometimes they double up as our video switcher. So they're back here, and they're controlling the teleprompter. So they're able to see in real time on here, which is what I like about this app, what they're seeing on the screen. So they can be scrolling along with the host.
They're controlling the teleprompter.
That's right.
For the hosts.
That's correct. And then they also have this comm unit on. So this is a clear comm system. And they are listening to the room, listening to the host, but also listening to anything around, hey, make sure that they're eating the microphone, make sure that they are addressing the camera more, not just talking to one another, those kinds of things. They're also, listening for if there's anything that needs to be changed here around like an ND filter. So that's most of it here. But yeah, they're just making sure that the hosts are good to go, they have everything they need, and that they feel confident.
Okay, so let's talk about now the most fun part, which is this do-it-yourself cart that you made. This is Justin's specialty.
The DIY.
They said, here's the budget. And he's like, what about 5 Gs? And they're like, no. And he's like, fine, I'll make this for free then, basically.
Yeah.
So it started, this is like a cart from Home Depot.
Yeah, I just started hunting online, and there's a whole interweb of people who DIY stuff. So I found this, it's funny because we're in Canada, but I found this is a scaffold unit from Home Depot, USA. So I drove over the border. Wow. It was $100. I bought it. It was yellow, bright yellow. I sanded it down, spray painted it black. I built this little shelf for it. And I found these little carpets at Home Depot that I just glued on top. I put a little power bar underneath of it that kind of powers everything. And then we have, I just bought some rolling wheels online.
So it didn't come with the wheels?
Did not come with the rolling wheels.
Okay.
And then, yeah, we just started mounting stuff on it. Like we put a couple, like this is just a small C-stand, a Matthews C-stand with a couple impact clamps.
Love the impact, budget option.
But like, great, I love that it's a budget option. This is a drum clamp to put on an additional tom to an old Manfrotto tripod we had. These are tom clamps. For a drum set, and this lets us just stack C-stands on the front of it. So it was just kind of like a great way of like, we used stuff we had, and we just built like a really functional cart.
And it's midweek. We pulled this out so we could record it.
Yeah.
But the idea is that it can be portable.
That's right. So in our context, because our building is philosophically used all the time for all the things, everything kind of has to have a permanent portable feel. So it has to not look like it's too janky, but it has to also function as portable. So
right, that's something that you guys are always saying. Permanent, but portable.
That's right. So yeah, that's kind of the philosophy of this, as at the end of the second service hosting, she can actually roll it, or whoever can roll it right to the back, and it's all out of sight and out of mind.
Ready for next week.
That's right.
So why am I calling this the hottest church announcements trend? Well, because, video announcements have been around for more than a decade now. Live in-service announcements have been around for a century plus, but live video announcements, well, this is innovation. And I can also say, because I had nothing to do with this, all right? One day I showed up for service, and there they were. And, our church is just like every other church. Our constant challenge is, how do we keep people engaged with announcements, as it's typically the least interesting part of service? So let's talk about the placements of announcements first. We didn't like the traditional placement of putting announcements after worship before the message. Felt like it broke up the flow of service too much. And if you place it at the end, people tend to leave. So we moved them to the beginning of service, with the trade-off, of course, being, yes, people are sometimes late. So one of the ways that we counteract that is by having these live announcements beginning at the end of the 5-minute countdown on screen. And then we actually have categorical targets for what goes into our announcements each week. Sure, information is a part of what we communicate, it's necessary, but we don't just list out event details and times and places, because we know that people would just tune that out. So our targets for each announcement segment are as follows: 40% celebration, 40% inspiration, and 20% information. These are targets. We don't align with them perfectly always, but what we found is, if we don't set these targets, if you don't have that ideal, your announcements very quickly descend into information overload. And sure, you might have said everything on your list that you had to say, check it all off, but people didn't hear you. And then finally, let's talk about the placement of filming these in the lobby. Why here? First, we wanted to inspire our online audience to see what's happening in person and want to come. There's just this kinetic energy in our announcements because they're happening in this dynamic and animated Sunday morning environment in the lobby. announcements are so often stale and lifeless. These are not. It helps, of course, that our lobby is bright and spacious, but it also makes sense thematically. Like church starts for everyone in the lobby, right? You enter through the doors into the lobby. You're greeting folks, shaking hands, and then into the auditorium for worship. And so starting out our service with these announcements hosted in the lobby before worship kicks off in the auditorium tracks along with that. And then lastly, it takes our hosts off the platform, puts them in the lobby with everyone else, feels more casual and more accessible. And you also get these delightful moments where kids and sometimes adults wave to the live camera. And you know, so long as you've got that shallow depth of field, it's a feature, not a bug. So we're here in the video production booth, and we wanted to show you the lower thirds and the overlays that we're adding on top of the video that we're recording, and how Justin has triggered it using this Stream Deck and created this series of presets so even a volunteer can basically click through in sequential order, 1, 2, 3, and all these things can happen at once. So Justin, please.
Take it away. Okay, well, essentially what we've done is we've just tried to create a simple, foolproof system for volunteers to be able to operate where they didn't need to be, you know, experts in production. They could easily do it. So what's amazing about this time in history is technology has made that possible. And one of our favorite purchases in the last, I would say, year, it's changed really everything for us, is the Stream Deck. So we're using this little Stream Deck, and essentially what it does is it lets us talk to everything. So it talks to ProPresenter, it talks to our video switcher, it talks to the soundboard upstairs, it can talk to our lighting, it can talk to another video hub in another room, but the point is it talks to everything.
And that's how you can create a preset, because one button can tell
everything.
all these things.
That's correct.
Do this, do this, do this.
Yeah. So a great example is we do this, our hosting in the lobby. So when our hosts press this first button, there's about 12 things that happen, including muting our lobby so that there's not feedback loops. But it also makes sure that the right settings are on the video switcher. It queues up ProPresenter, and it does it all in the right timing. So let's try it. So we press this first button, and what immediately happens is the right camera comes up, the lower third from ProPresenter comes up. There's a little ticker tape on there, and that's it. That's all it's doing. It's doing all of those things in the background.
And the background audio track, that little,
that's correct.
little sound bed.
Queues up the sound bed, exactly.
And all of the lower thirds and on-screen elements, those are all coming via ProPresenter.
That's correct.
Understood.
Yep.
And that also queues up the lobby host countdown. 7 minutes starts counting down.
That's exact. Yep. So you can see that right here. So that's what they're seeing on the host cart.
And the frame you're seeing right here would normally have 2 hosts in
That's
it,
correct.
where we just were.
Yeah.
But there's nobody in the lobby.
Nobody
right
there.
now.
That's right.
So, but that's the camera angle where we were just standing.
Exactly. Yep.
Understood.
So then as they kind of advance here, you can see their host names. Those animations, again, are in ProPresenter. And once this thing goes red, it means do not press this button anymore.
Right, so it's foolproof for a volunteer. Green means press.
Yep.
Red means you've already done this.
Yep.
Go
No
to
more.
the next button.
No more pressing. Go to the next. So this is a great example of a little stinger transition that's happening through the switcher. And then it gives us a little QR code, and it moves the box over. So it's really simple in that sense of you're just creating these looks, and you're telling it, hey, pull up that look.
Go to look 3.
Exactly.
Go to look 4.
Yep. So this is, again, just kind of a share this experience, a little animation in ProPresenter. And then this is where it gets real kind of fun. We have 3 looks for each announcement. So typically we're only going to do about 3 announcements a Sunday. So when we go to our first announcement, we have this look, which is a 2-box look, is what we call it. And our person here who is running this, they can be switching on this second box between different cameras just to get different looks around our church.
So on the bottom of the Stream Deck, you have cam 1, 2, all the way up to 8.
That's
and
right.
so when the 2-box look is up there,
Yep.
they can show lobby, they can show auditorium, they can show something else and switch.
Exactly.
Okay. How would they, and do they know which camera to go to?
Yeah, so they can see them on our preview monitors over here, kind of like, oh, okay, those are the ones I want to, and they've practiced a couple times, so they know, oh yeah, I want to go to this look, I want to go to the auditorium, I want to go to the cafe.
And are they related to announcements, or more just like, let's just show the things that are happening in church?
Sometimes, and sometimes not.
Because I guess the other thing to consider is there's the in-person audience and the
That's right.
online audience. And
Yep.
so if you're online, you're not seeing the sanctuary begin to fill up. You're not seeing what's happening in the lobby.
That's correct.
If you're in the lobby, you're not seeing what's happening in the sanctuary.
Yeah.
And while this is happening, we're trying to move people gently
100%.
without saying it actually out loud. Hey,
Yeah.
service is starting, come on.
Yeah. So like that's that. So then each look has, so I can do a what's called a full screen. This is from the switcher. That's animating in the switcher. And then when I press it again, it goes to half screen. So they can still be talking about it, but it's on the screen. And then I press it a third time, it animates out, and it goes back to the look.
Amazing.
So real simple. And then we also have a full screen look for each announcement. And that's really that. So it's
Ooh, I like the sports ticker at the bottom. It's like, pardon the interruption. Hey,
Yes.
here's what's coming up. We
That's
got
right.
this announcement, then this announcement, then
Yep.
this.
So each week we'll have the first 3 announcements are actually on there on the bottom. We change that in ProPresenter. And then the last one is typically questions. So we always kind of follow that, at least in our current format. So yeah, so that's kind of the look for each announcement. We can go to a full screen kind of thing where it'll show like a highlight, let's say, or sorry, this is a half screen one. So this lets us do B-roll for like, let's say summer groups. So we're actually showing B-roll while we're talking. That's another look.
I like that.
And then we can also go to like a full screen. So like this would be an example of like an Easter promo.
Right.
So this is obviously the last time we did a full screen highlight video. But that clears audio on ProPresenter and it plays this video. And then it'll, at the end of it, we go back to like our welcome look. It starts the music again and away we go.
Can you show me the B-roll screen again?
Yeah, B-roll screen.
Yeah, this one has to be my favorite because you are combining information and
Yes.
inspiration on the exact same screen.
That's right.
So the hosts can be there, they're bantering, they're talking about what's going on. Hey, we'd love to have you come out for Connect groups.
Yes.
This summer, we're gathering together in the park, and you can visually see exactly what they're describing.
Yeah.
And the next steps information, the actual URL to visit,
Yeah.
is also right there on the screen, and it's all there.
Yeah.
It's so dynamic. When I saw this for the first time, I'm just sitting in service, and I was like, all right, what did he cook up now?
Yeah.
Like, because we'll meet every Thursday, and you're like, yeah, I was doing this preset, and I had the stream deck, and I did X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, okay, Mr. Production. I was like, I was doing narrative this week, and then I see it in person, and I'm like, oh, this
Yes.
man cooked.
Yeah. No, I love this too. It's all the things philosophically we're aiming for. High celebration. It makes you want to be part of that men's group.
100%.
I want to go have breakfast with those guys.
That's 10 times more powerful than
Yeah.
saying, we're all meeting at the beach. It's like, oh, that's what
Yeah.
that looked like. I recognize her. I recognize
Yes.
him. That could be me. I want to be a part of that.
Yeah. So it lets us do that. It's inspiration because we're talking about it and we love it. But then the information's there. And it literally is 20% of the screen. So it does all the things that we're aiming for. And I love that.
Is there any way to accomplish this?
Right.
Like if I just had ProPresenter, like just something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the cool thing is you could literally just play this video full screen and be a VO behind it. You don't have to have the super source and all the other stuff. You can literally just put this on full screen and just be a voiceover.
Mhm.
So there's ways to do it that you don't have to do it this way. But yeah, again, that's the thing about growing into your tech is the more that you maximize what you have, that's how you get to the next level. If you always are like, well, we don't have, so we can't, then you never will.
The last thing that I want from this video is people to watch a part like this and feel like, this is so detached
Yeah.
from what I could do. When you're in this world, you understand like the upside of what's possible, but you also recognize that gear has never been more affordable.
Yeah.
This tech has never been more accessible. And even the entry version, you can accomplish an 80% version of this. So like,
Yeah.
you said this out when we were by the cart. If you didn't have all these things and
Yeah.
you just had like that SDI source
Yep.
that had the audio and video coming from there, and you wanted to add some lower thirds and overlays like this
Yeah.
in ProPresenter, is that possible?
100%. I mean, for me, it's as simple as there's surely a kid or somebody in your church who can get iPhone footage, put it together in a montage, put that up full screen, and just be a voiceover talking about it.
Right.
You're
If you wanted to
seeing-
show the B-roll,
Yeah.
you could go full screen with
You
that.
don't need even high slow motion. Well, I guess you could slow motion footage on your phone. Like
log, Apple log.
it's so accessible that you can do it. And I think my personal philosophy is when you are a good steward of what you have, you're always given more. Like that's a biblical principle. So if you have it, use it. So, and if you don't, like just again, use what you have. And like I said, just put up a full screen video of a couple clips or a picture. Take a picture of your picnic, put that up and talk over it. So I think just get past the barriers of like, well, we don't have, so we can't. No, you can. And it's just by using what you have. So you can accomplish, I think, a lot of these things in a similar fashion. You just got to think sometimes a little bit out of the box.
And what's also cool is that the skills that you learn when you don't have as much, they serve you so much better as you level up and as you go, like we both started in similar places, like
Yeah.
really small Canadian churches with basically nothing.
Yeah.
The first time you met me, I had a Canon T3i, and
Yes.
you just like loved making fun of the green screen tarp that I had, which was basically just like a bed sheet that I was hanging up. And even in this video, I came to church on Sunday, and I knew we were going to film this video during the week.
Right.
And you were doing hosting on the screen.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we should get some B-roll of this. Well, guess what? I didn't have my camera. All I had was my iPhone.
Right.
So I took it out and I filmed using Apple Log B-roll that we put in this video.
That's it.
And so these tools are, imagine Apple Log.
I know.
10 years ago, I had a T3i, it shot 4-bit. We didn't even have 8-bit. Okay, we had 8-bit.
Yeah. Yeah. But well, and that's just it. Like we'll text our life group leaders and say, hey, can you please take a picture? That's it. Like just take a picture. Anything you have, it works. Like we'll use it. It's inspirational. So I don't know. I just think there's possibility. I see it. It's everywhere. And just use what you have, and you'll be able to, keep upping that as you go,
To that end, we've compiled all the gear that we mentioned in this video into a downloadable shopping list. It's linked in the description below, so make sure to take advantage of that. And if you have any questions, you can thread those up in the comments below, and we'll do our best to answer. With the trigger. Oh, no!
Eat the mic. There's the thumbnail. That's so good.
Don't film on the white goop.